Hello, I'm Austin, and in this podcast we'll be debating about if the White Helmet organization is a humanitarian group or not. So, today we'll be discussing about the White Helmets, which is a very controversial group of supposed volunteers that does humanitarian works in parts of Syria, which had allegedly saved many lives, resulting them on receiving the McCall-Bernoulli Humanitarian Award. And today, joining with us is John Zacks, a philosophy teacher in Shawnigan Lake School.
Hey, Austin.
Alright, so as you may know, the White Helmet organization has been a very wrangling subject. Many consider them as a humanitarian group because they are known to have saved many lives throughout Syria. But also, some might consider them as a terrorist organization because many of the photos they've took and sent to the press just aren't realistic. I personally believe that they're just fake and they're trying to get sympathy from the people who don't know what's really happening there. So, John, tell me about your stand on this situation.
I think it's pretty tough to consider these guys fakers, Austin. They're in a very, very dangerous part of the world, doing very dangerous work. Have they sent out photos that show the good work they're doing, that have maybe even been set up, maybe even doctored? I doubt it, but even if it's possible, I think what they're trying to do is draw attention to not the situation they're in, but the situation that their country is in, the dire situation facing Syria, and that's an important thing for the world to know about and to care about.
I see. Well, in October 26, 2016, the White Helmets reported that the Russian Air Force station in Syria had bombed a school near a rebel hideout in Hijab, resulting 22 deaths, and I quote, mostly children's. The White Helmets also took pictures of the site immediately after the bombing, showing the chaos and destruction that the Russians had done. But later, as I looked more into this case, I found some photos and videos which shows me that the school that was supposedly bombed. Keep in mind that the Russian officials also said during the time of the bombing, there were no Russian aircraft near the compound. Later, the Russian Air Force sent a drone to take a video of the school, which was supposedly bombed. The footage showed something very shocking, that the school was not bombed and showed no evidence of an airstrike. Here's a quote said by the Russian officials in charge of the area at the time. His name was Major Koloshenko, and he said, on Thursday, a Russian UAV was directed to the area to conduct detailed digital photography. As it can be seen from the photos taken by the drone, there are no signs of damage to the roof of the school or the craters from airstrikes around it. We have analyzed the photos and video evidence of the supposed attack. The video, published in a range of Western media outlets, appeared to consist of more than 10 different shots. Filming at different times of the day and different resolution were edited into a single clip. The photograph published by the AFP, Agent France Press, shows that only one wall of the school is damaged and all the desks inside of the classroom are in place. The outer fence seen through the hole has no trace of damage from bomb fragments. In a genuine airstrike, this is physically impossible. The furniture would have been swept away by the blast wave, and there would have been damage marks in the classroom wall and the outer fence. Also, the statement has been proven true by the American UAVs around the area at the time.
Okay, so in general, what are the White Helmets doing? In general, what's the situation in Syria? And I think that a lot of news organizations, a lot of information out there in the public sphere right now, including some of the committees you were talking about, like the Nobel Committee considering them for a peace prize. People consider the White Helmets to be doing really important work in a really dire part of the world right now. It seems that this is a group putting themselves in harm's way to do humanitarian stuff. So is your point that this one incident didn't happen, or is your point, Austin, that the White Helmets in general are untrustworthy and are not helping Syrian people?
I see, but this is one of the things I've repeatedly seen that the White Helmets do, which is using children as a kind of attention grabber for the press. Not just in this school bombing incident, but in many other cases too, such as the children's hospital that got bombed a while ago, and even in a Netflix documentary, it showed that they've saved a baby under a rebel. Don't you think that's a bit sketchy? I really don't think that there's only kids in Syria that's getting killed.
No, but a lot of times, that's where people's priorities are, is to saving children. You know, if an earthquake or a bombing collapses a building, who are you trying to get out first? The children. And children are also what draws attention to the conflict. You think of the photograph of the small Syrian boy dying on a beach when he was trying to flee as a refugee. That really pulled at the heartstrings of people all around the world in a way that an adult lying face down in the sand just wouldn't have done.
Well, that's a valid point. But if you think about it, all lives matter. So why shouldn't they talk about adults that's being killed in these bombings and showing footage of that? Because all I see is just picture of children getting killed, children being injured, children missing because they were stuck under the rebel. Mm-hmm. There's nothing about adults. I mean, if children are for a humanitarian group, everyone should be as equally important.
Yeah.
You might want to save morally. You might want to save a kid first, but what you should do is to save whoever is easiest to save. It doesn't matter if it's an adult or
not necessarily
kid.
Easiest. That's not always how triage works. And to your point about all lives matter, yes, all lives matter, but some lives are in more pressing need of assistance than others. And the only other thing I want to say about that, Austin, is when we as the international community are considering dire need in a war zone, in an area of famine or whatever it is, one of the other reasons that we like to help children first is we say, you know what, that kid, there's no way that kid is secretly a soldier. There's no way that kid has decided to start this war. There's no way that kid is responsible, has blood on his hands, because children, unless they are brainwashed, you know, you look at child soldiers in Northern Africa, okay, it does happen, but kids are innocent, right? Kids didn't decide to start this war in Syria, whereas if an adult is dying, you know, of a wound from a gun, from a bombing, whatever it is, we like to think that adult is innocent, but we're not totally sure. We always consider kids innocent, and that's one more reason that we try so hard to save them.
Well, that could be also used as propaganda.
Sure.
Because, like you said, we might not think that all adults are innocent. We think that most kids are innocent, but the White Helmet organization keeps bringing up kids and bombings of it. Don't you think that could be used as a propaganda? And also in the evidence, it shows that the school have never been bombed. And and there's another picture taken by the White Helmet showing that a hole in the wall and all the furnitures are all in a line. If that was a bomb, that should not be in one line. The shockwave should be able to flip all the tables and leave scraps all around the compound. So
totally true. But I guess if you're correct that, you know, they're just taking these photos to win a propaganda war, even if that's true, Austin, I think I say, you know what? Go ahead. If your goal is to stop conflict, you go ahead and pile on the propaganda. And if it takes us seeing kids dying in the street, kids bloodied, kids drowning, hey, you show us those photos, because that's what we need to see. That's the propaganda that we need to be fed.
Well, don't you think that they might just be showing this to get people's sympathy, so people will be on their side fighting against their own government and the Russians?
Yeah, could be.
Because me personally, I think that most government takes care of their people. In this case, the government consider them as terrorists, and we don't see that a lot in the modern world.
No.
But in this case, we can't know for sure, but from the evidence, it's kind of showing us that they might just be a terrorist organization seeking for help.
Yeah.
And as you know, like, many of the countries, developed countries, have been giving them a lot of funds.
Yeah.
So that could be.
Well, look, Western organizations are funding a lot of rebel groups in Syria, and I'm sure that Assad and his regime would consider many of them to be terrorists. That's a tough one. That's a tough needle to thread. One man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter, and you look at what's happening in Syria with this horrible civil war. It's tough to know where to side and who's right and who's wrong. The White Helmets probably would claim that they're not taking sides, that they're interested in peace. you obviously take issue with that, and maybe you say they're supporting the rebels and they're firmly on one side, whichever side that may be. And even if that's true, hey, I think most of us just want this conflict to end. We want to see peace. We want to see as many people, kids in particular, surviving as long as they can.
I agree with that.
We can agree on that for sure. Yeah.
Thank you for being here with us today.
Pleasure, Austin. Thanks for having me. That was a fun discussion.
I hope to discuss with you about this again next time.
Anytime.
All right, thank you.